So hello, Ben. Welcome to the Kelly's Heroes podcast. Thank you for coming on and being a guest for us.
Thank you for having me.
So we've invited you on to hear a little bit about your journey, the things that you do and how you help yourself and others with mental health. So if you could introduce us first as to who you are and the sort of things that you do.
For sure, yeah. So I'm Ben Stewart, personal trainer and sports therapist here in Northampton, raising money over the last sort of 4 years from many different charities, but mainly trying to help people realise they can be fitter, healthier, better than they realise. So we'll talk about it in more detail, I'm sure. But really the idea being we push the boundaries for what we think is normal for a fundraising challenge. There's lots of marathons going on. There's lots of amazing big challenges now as well. So I kind of want to do something a little bit more unique, sort of stand out from the crowd a little bit and get people going, really? You did this? I go, yeah. And actually it wasn't as hard as a lot of people thought it was with the right setup.
Yeah, definitely.
So it started back in 2019, I suppose, where I effectively wanted to get over the fundraising fatigue that I had so much in my job. So people wanting to train for the London Marathon, all the big marathons really in the UK, and they need however much money to make that space happen and raise some money for some amazing causes. I'm there on the front line helping people get fitter, helping people with injuries. So really wanting to then go, what can I do that helps these amazing charity causes? So the first challenge I did, 2019, was I walked up Snowdon backwards. So I was the first person to do that, to up and down. And it was really kind of the start. It was a really unprofessional job. Me and my mate, my dad got the train to the summit and met us at the top and was like, how you doing? I'm like, this really is rubbish. I don't like doing this. But it caught on because people were like, why backwards?
Yeah.
Like, why did that? Where did that come from, I suppose?
That was my first thought. So when I was starting to read about the guests that we're having on, the first thing that jumped out of the page was like backwards. Okay, so how did you even... What was the first thing that triggered off in your mind to be like, okay, I'm going to climb a mountain, which is hard enough anyway, but I'm going to do it backwards?
Well, the second highest peak in the UK is not something just to be like, well, that's just a little walk. I was inspired by a few people back in the day, I suppose, back in 2019. And these guys were doing some little challenges against each other, a little bit of light-hearted competition, and they were just online social media people. So one of them tried to break the 24-hour backwards distance. So in 24 hours, how far? And that kind of started ringing the alarm bell for me of that's doable. Like you could walk backwards. Like we could physically go down the car park now and you could walk backwards. So with that being said, why don't more people do that? Yeah. Because it's hard. It's not normal. It's against the grain, I guess. We're hardwired to walk forwards. We've got eyes that only go in one direction. So all of these little things, I started going, well, if I can walk around the local country park, I can walk up a mountain with the right training. I'm in a lucky position there. I know the information, the knowledge, the science behind training, so I can get fit by doing something. So that's really where it started. I was inspired by a couple of social media stars that really got that little seed sown.
Had you ever climbed this mountain forwards, first of all? Or was it just like, I'm going to literally throw myself right in the deep end?
Snowdon, yes. Okay. We have been up a few times, and the UK ones are easy accessible. So I can get off and do these sort of trial runs. Now, when I had climbed it forwards, I had never thought I was going to walk it backwards. So it was many years before. It was just weekends away. I like being in the outdoors. And I think that's another thing of why it's good. A lot of these challenges are instigating things that naturally are hardwired to instigate a good response for us. Definitely. So as people that might be struggling with mental health, just being with nature, whether it's a mountain that's really hard to climb or whether it's just around a lake, whether it's just in a local country park, and getting out for that little walk can make everything go,
I think a lot of people underestimate just getting that fresh air, like how much that can just change your mindset completely.
Absolutely that. And this is where Snowdon was the start. And as I was doing the social media posts for it, people were like, I'm going to go up in a few weeks and do that because you've walked it backwards. And I've got to go, please be careful. It is the second highest mountain in the UK, but go. And it was that little bell there that I was like, wow, I'm actually motivating people to do something new for the first time that's physically and mentally bettering themselves. And that's where I was like, wow, I'm onto something.
Okay, so you get to Snowdon, you're about to start walking backwards up there, what was your sort of mindset at that point? How were you feeling? What were you thinking about?
It was me and a good mate. So it was super
Were you
relaxed.
both walking backwards?
No, so he was I need a guide.
Like a guide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I need
It wasn't
some
just
eyes.
like,
Teachers do say they got eyes in the back of their head. We don't. Well, certainly personal trainers don't. So yeah, he was definitely my eyes. He helped me out, and he's been on all of the other challenges.
Okay.
So he's been a really, really supporting guy for me to get up these places.
Mm-hmm.
And really get there. So it was a very unprofessional job on the first one. We rocked up. I had some decent walking boots, some gear, and I just, this will do for a starting point. And it was a cattle grid at the bottom of Snowdon. So if anyone's done the Helambaris path, they'll know that cattle grid right at the very bottom. Technically not the bottom. I realised I've done about a 50-metre climb too much.
Okay.
So there's a gate about 50 metres up, and you miss a whole steep section.
I don't think anyone's going to deny your accomplishment.
Thank you. So it was really, like I said, genuinely just unprofessional. Is let's see if this works.
Yeah.
I got to the summit and was pleasantly surprised. Don't get me wrong, I trained for this. There was a few months of training of practicing walking backwards and all of these things. But it wasn't what it kind of molded into over the next 4 years, where things are taken much, much more seriously.
Yeah.
As I said, my dad met me at the top, and I got so good at walking backwards, I didn't realise this. He couldn't keep up with me walking downhill forwards.
Okay.
So I picked up this incredible skill, and it's a little sort of, again, penny drop moment for me that I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually well practiced at this. I don't like saying good, because
Yeah.
who's good at walking backwards? But it is practice. It is a skill. And I guess this is another thing that you unlock abilities you don't realise.
Yeah.
By
Definitely.
getting out into fresh air, or even taking up a gentle workout, whether it's at home, or I'd rather people go off to a little gym, get out of that comfort zone a little bit, but don't expect too much from yourself. Because I rocked up to this first charity challenge not knowing if it was going to be a success.
Yeah.
Not knowing if I was actually going to make it to the summit or even back down in the way I set it up to be. So I like to talk about these challenges to people in my surroundings to say, this is happening, I'm going to try my absolute hardest.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what people can use a little bit, lean on a little bit, is I'm going to try and go to the gym 3 times this week.
Yeah.
You tell your closest family and friends, and it might just be a bike.
Yeah.
It might just be a 10-minute cycle, but that's 10 minutes more than where you were last week.
Exactly. So it sounds like you took a lot away from that to be able to translate that into your clients of
Absolutely,
saying, this isn't an expected thing to do. Like you say, walking backwards is not a normal thing to do. But as you said, when you were coming back down, obviously you had trained for it, but your dad was struggling to keep up with you
that
going in a
effect
forwards
was,
motion. That
for
must
sure.
have, the benefit of that being able to, as I say, translate into your clients must have been huge. And, what's the sort of, when people are thinking about, you said, as you said, maybe like going to a gym for a first time, or, picking up a new sort of exercise, that how can you use stuff from the experience of, doing Snowdon for the first time and translate that into your clients?
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people realise is the exercise is the easy bit. It's the habit changes. It's the psychology behind it. Like, people have got into a position in their life, in their mental health, for their own reasons.
Yeah.
For many different reasons. And you will hear that little, maybe loud voice in the back of your head just constantly putting you down, saying you can't do this, saying it's too hard. Make it easier.
Yeah.
What is easier for you at that point might then not seem worthwhile.
Yeah.
So it's this constant toss-up all the time of, from my experience, realising I could do something more than I expected. It's just an instant translation to someone, very overweight, starting on their fitness journey, trying to change their eating habits, their exercise routine, trying to change their sleeping patterns. All of these things that add up that make your lifestyle a little bit better, a little bit healthier. You're not going to click your fingers and achieve everything at once.
Yeah, I know from my own experience as well, that as you just said, like trying to change your eating habit, exercise habit, sleeping habit. I find that a lot of people think, okay, well, that's the utopia. I need to do all those things instantly. But like the sounds of it from you, like, actually, I'm just going to try and walk backwards. And so that's just like one thing part of it. Like, you weren't thinking at that exact moment, like, I'm going to scale all these challenges. I'm going to do all of these huge things. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people need to realise, is that if you even just start with the sleeping habit changes and you integrate that for a few weeks, then the eating habit changes start to become easier and things like that. So it sounds like similar to how you managed your challenge, is like, yes, you do have a goal of where you want to be, but you can pick that up in very small bite-sized pieces.
And there's a fine line all the time, I think, I see people taking it easy as well. So you've got so far and now you're settling.
Yes.
And James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he says this amazing thing of why strive for 1% better? 1% is amazing at the right time.
Yeah.
If you're just at day zero, you're just starting out, doing that 5-minute walk on your lunch break will make a game-changing amount of difference. But aim for 10%.
Yeah.
And if you fall back to 6, you're now 5% better than your initial goals.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden, these things are changing. And sometimes 10% is a little bit more manageable rather than the click of the fingers, the utopian kind of change that we're all hoping for. Can you sleep that little bit longer? Can you put your phone down a little bit sooner? Can you drink that little bit more water instead of the fizzy drinks?
Yeah.
All of these things that can change will make a difference. It doesn't have to be all at once,
Yeah.
all of the time. But it can be a little bit more than you think you can do.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that challenge.
And I think it's also about, taking the positives out of, as you said, yes, you may have wanted to achieve 10 things, but if you've done 6 of those things, it's also taking the positive. Like, okay, well, 3 months ago, I wasn't doing any of those things. So
For sure. And that's such a really important takeaway message, I think, for everyone starting out, is it doesn't have to be everything. And I hear this all the time. And what's the right thing to do for my goals?
Yeah.
Consistency. Just keep going. It's that voice will get louder when you're tired,
Yes.
when you're demotivated, when you're not feeling it. They're the days to then show it that you can still go.
Yes.
Because I had, even on Snowdon back in the day, I remember it was hard. And I had those moments of that voice for me going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This is so silly. You're walking backwards past all these amazing tourists and extreme hikers, mountain runners. Excuse me, guys. I'm walking past people like, don't mind me. Oh, that guy's walking back. Is it all the way? Yep. Going all the way.
As I say, you must have been stopped quite a lot, or a lot of people being like, okay, well, I thought I was good, going up the mountain.
Yes.
This guy's taking it to the next level.
Exactly that. And that's another thing I think we can lean on is when you start comparing.
Yeah.
I was there walking up this mountain backwards. Some people were there walking forwards for the first ever time.
Yeah.
And I might be walking past them going, you all right? Yeah, I'm just having a sandwich, don't mind me. And I'm just powering on. But that's then where a lot of people fall back as well, is, I'm not as good as them.
Yeah.
God, this guy's gone all the way up or backwards.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. We're all at different parts of our journey.
Exactly.
And you can only do your journey. You can only walk your path.
Exactly.
And really the next step is only the next step. So by working on that, one day, one step, one workout at a time is the best way.
Yeah.
You can't look at 4 months forwards. You can't look at someone that's been doing this for 10 years and make it look easy. You are doing it for the first day.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people also need to take that baseline of where they started from. And, you said you can't look 4 months forward, but you also need to be able to have the ability to look back
For sure.
and see that change.
Yeah.
Because unless you acknowledge those things, you won't see the path that you've gone
Yeah.
in that time.
And it's a battle, isn't it? Because what we're talking about now is all that psychology stuff,
Yeah.
rather than the physical stuff.
Exactly.
The challenges is where people are looking at where they're going or where they come from, what they're doing, what habits they're making or not making, things they're achieving or things that other people are achieving.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with their own actions.
Yes.
The actions are relatively the easy thing. We all know we should do more steps. We all
Yeah.
should know that we go to the gym or not eat the treats and da-da-da. So why do we?
Yeah.
If we know we shouldn't, we still make that voice in the head talk that little bit louder and talk a little bit more.
Yeah. So obviously Snowdon was a huge challenge for you. You mentioned at the beginning that you've done quite a few different things to raise money for charity. So can you give us shed a bit more light on other things that you've been doing or things that you're planning to do as well?
Yeah, for sure. So Snowdon was the first of 4. And I really didn't know where they were all going to go. Is that another crazy thing is what was going to come next? And it really got the bug for me of fundraising. The support that I had through everywhere was great. So me and my partner the following year walked 30 miles. Now she was pretty inactive at the time. So 30 miles for her was tough. It's over a marathon all in one day. It took us about 10 hours. I walked all that backwards with her.
Okay.
So the brand for me was sort of backwards Ben started to form and to mold off of that same concept of if someone can walk it forwards, I feel like I can walk it backwards. So already the confidence, the realization that I've got this ability was setting there. And that was great. It was the mental challenge of the 30-mile trek was just a 3-mile loop around the same reservoir.
Right, okay.
So it was repetitive.
Yeah.
But what we got to realize was when my partner was tired, she wasn't my eyes as well.
Yeah.
But on the 8th lap, I kind of knew where I was
You're
going.
familiar with it.
I knew that the turn was coming up. I knew there was a gate coming. I knew there was a downhill section. So
Did you feel like you were like going faster and faster
absolutely.
each time?
Yeah. We weren't. The time got slower and slower. But I definitely felt like I was getting more familiar. And what was great there was the first time I had other people join me.
Yeah.
So because it was just a 3-mile loop and we did that 10 times, I sort of said, look, I'm going to be here from 6 till 4.
Yeah.
If you want to come and join me at any point, almost on the hour, I'm going to be heading off.
Yeah.
It's going to take me about 50 minutes. Okay, yeah, cool. I'll come walk my dog with you on one lap. And I had people for the first time going, I wasn't going to come out today.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to come and do this with you. But it's an hour.
Yeah.
And that helped me realize, wow, I'm having a direct impact once again on people's activity levels away from my work.
And did you find that some of those people that did join you started to talk a little bit more about, their journey and all that sort of stuff as well?
I think it's a really good point, isn't it? Because chatting with people is one of the most powerful things. And with a non-judgmental approach, I was out there for 10 hours just glad for someone to talk at me.
Yeah.
And that really allowed some friends, some clients, some family just to open up and sort of realize, wow, I didn't think I was going to be able to do this today.
Yeah.
Or I just really didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
A bit sort of feeling a bit rubbish today, or just being out in the sunshine was just such a lovely day. Helped get that ball rolling, and it was always me, my partner, and then one or two more.
Yeah.
And then there's a few kids that joined us. So already they're like, can I walk backwards like Ben? Yeah, of course you can. Kind of see if you can keep up. And it was nice to see the relaxed side of it. Snowdon was a little bit more serious. I didn't realize how deep I'd got into it. Mm-hmm. Whereas 30 miles in a day, 3-mile laps, it was very, very relaxed. It was great. But again, real fundraising focus, people at the park, what are you doing for? And I had a base or use somewhere that I could keep coming back to, have a little stretch, have some food. And that's where it started getting a bit more serious. I started doing the calculations for how much I need to eat.
Yes.
What do I need to stretch? What muscles do I feel after 10 hours of walking backwards?
Mm-hmm.
So that really, really helped. But because I had a base, I had other people going, well, what are you doing this for?
Yeah.
This is amazing. So it started to stretch the story a little bit further.
Exactly. And, that domino effect of just engaging with people and people hearing about those things is like, as we were saying about people joining in and just openly talking about, their journey just because of the example that you're setting as well. I mean, Kelly's Heroes, we also monthly do a walk as well. So it's open to everyone to do.
Amazing.
And you go on those walks and you think, okay, I've never met these people before. But because they realise what they're there for, all of a sudden it's like the conversation just opens and you can go from like topic to topic and it's so seamless and you've finished after an hour or 2 hours. And sometimes I drive home from hosting those walks and I think, how do we cover so much stuff? But as you said before, like just being out in nature, just realising that, as you said, it's just great to talk to other people. Sometimes the conversation, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And like before you've known it, you've touched on so many different things as well. So yeah.
Do you think that helps because you're opening up the opportunity for someone to talk? Instead of catching up with a friend over a coffee, it feels a bit pressured. Oh, I'm here to chat. Actually, just going for a walk. It's relaxed. We're here for walking.
I think it definitely does. I think, like I say, we have people that turn up, never engaged with the charity previously or, never been to that sort of thing or, maybe have even struggled to talk about things that are going on. And yeah, maybe they may not go into the depths of, things that are going on at that time, but just being able to speak to someone very impartial or someone that doesn't know you, and you can just give out snippets of stuff. And once you start to realise, oh, okay, this is resonating with that person, we then tend to find that we, get a lot more engagement from that person as well.
It's day one for them, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's that first breaking down of the initial barriers or the concerns that they've got. You can open that door up. Amazing. So then it kind of got a little bit serious for my challenges. So after the 30-mile one, I took on the 3 peaks by walking backwards. The initial plan was to try and do it within 24 hours. And then I realised with the recce walks and the runs, I'd obviously done Snowdon 2 years previously. I thought, I just don't think it's possible. And that was where I had the first real challenge of what I expected.
Yeah.
So I said how the confidence grew and then how I thought I was actually a bit better at this skill that no one else really seems to do.
Yeah.
So I realised, wow, maybe I'm not as good at this. And I had that moment, much like we spoke about. that voice got a little bit louder. Oh, you
Yeah.
think you're the guy that walks backwards everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I wanted to do the 24-hour challenge, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I just could not walk fast enough up these mountains.
Yeah.
And then it was one of the friend that's come along to all three. He said to me, "You're not doing it for the speed.
Mm-hmm.
No one actually cares if it was 23 hours.
Yeah.
Do it. Do the story. People are going to be impressed and donate to these charities, to these causes. You're going to get the message out of being out in nature, being more active by you doing this."
Yeah.
And it sort of transpired that, you know, not that it really matters now, but 32 hours we completed it in, including all the drive, and we got lost for about 2 hours. So we'll say so close, about 6 hours over the timings. And I look back, and actually a lesson I learned at the top of Scarfell, which is the middle peak, we had the most perfect weather. And I employed a guide on each mountain. So I was chatting to him on the way up. And he said to me, he's been in the lakes for 10 years as a guide, as a mountain rescuer, a trail runner, and he'd never seen this weather.
Okay.
So we spent about 50 minutes at the summit.
Okay.
So now I look back and go, well, without the 50 minutes, without the getting lost, was that 24 hours actually in reach?
Yeah,
So
but that 50 minutes is probably more vital to your success than you probably acknowledged at the time.
the success wasn't the time.
Yeah.
The success was everything about that trip, the story, the experience, the views. To put it really simply, at the top of Scarfell, it was effectively a blue sky and a solid double inversion both sides. We're above the clouds and then below the next level of clouds.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
So I just want to like circle back a bit, you know, when you said like you were speaking to your mate and you said, you know, maybe I'm not as good as this I thought I was. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, obviously he gave some good words of encouragement and, you know, like reframed, you know, what is success in this particular instance. But in terms of your like personal thoughts and managed to overcome that, obviously you've successfully done the challenge.
Yeah.
So I want to just understand a little bit more about like, how did you get to that point where like, okay, actually, you know, I am going to still do this, and remeasuring success based on something else. Like, how did you overcome some of those challenges?
It's really interesting. I like to reflect both with work and personal life. And whether that's physically writing, when I first started out as a personal trainer, I used to reflect after every single session.
Yeah.
What did I do well? What did I talk about? What did they talk about? How could that go better? And that sort of fizzled and trickled down into my personal life a little bit. How was I just chatting to that coffee shop person?
Yeah.
Am I a nice person in
Yeah.
day to day? So what I realized on the 3 peaks, or in preparation for the 3 peaks, the ego won. I
Yeah.
wanted the time.
Yeah.
I didn't actually want the time, but the ego, the little monkey in the back of my head was going, you can do this in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because you can do that in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then when I was working it out, I couldn't. So it's the idea of it's not me. It's the challenge.
Yeah.
It's the message I'm sending. It's the charities around these things. I'm just the messenger.
Yeah.
I'm just the person at the front of it. And I had another experience, which we'll come on to with it in the final challenge. But it was more the reframing where I was at in perspective in the world, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not anything special. I'm just walking up mountains backwards, raising money for charity, which in itself seems really special. But that's where the ego went to a little bit like, oh, you are more special than you think you are.
Yeah.
This is amazing. So that's that reframing that I think is actually, you can have a really direct impact on the people around you.
Yeah.
And you should have a really positive impact on the people around you. You don't realize, because a lot of people are also struggling with their own battles.
Yes.
The very, very few times do I hear someone directly say, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really needed that. But I know after a personal training session or even just a talk,
Yeah.
a lot of times my clients come in and we don't do any exercise. We just get on the bike, we talk.
Yeah.
They're moving and they're unloading.
But that's what I mean is when you're saying like the ego won or you're not that special, I think you probably underestimate, you know, how other people see you, like as in you're an inspiration to other people.
I appreciate it.
I imagine people that have seen stuff on your social media, you know, maybe never come across your stuff before, but thought, he walked backwards across the 3 peaks. And they'd be like, okay, let's see if I can actually get to the end of my driveway walking backwards.
Yeah,
like, you just don't imagine, like, how much that can have an impact on other people as well. So that is the special part of it.
For sure. The modesty over the ego, I think, is more important. Like, I am trying to really, really inspire people, really, really hard. But if I start getting tangible on these things, I don't see the progress.
Yeah.
I don't see the direct impact I'm having.
Yeah.
I think I know that I'm having quite a good impact on people's mental, physical well-being, but I can't measure that.
Yeah.
So instead of me going over and I'm going to try and beat this thing, it's not about the thing. It's about the message over the long time to get people walking, moving, more active, more aware that they can have a better impact on their own health and well-being than they think.
So you've talked about, one of your bigger challenges. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, what it was you did and the challenges that you faced in that?
It still really seems hard to kind of say out loud. It's nearly a year on to the day now. And it blows my mind because I'm now the first and only person to walk up and down Kilimanjaro backwards. So it's
incredible.
Just, why me? And this was one of the main challenges I faced on that first night. Was I'm just a normal personal trainer from Northampton, very modest working life. I have these hobbies like everyone else does, yet I'm the only person in the world to have done this thing.
Yeah.
So in the hotel, looking up to the summit, I was like, whether it was anxiety, I feel like mentally I'm quite strong, but it was the first time I'm like, oh, we're here.
Yeah.
Tomorrow this is happening. Have you done what you needed to do to make this a success? I had sponsors. I had people making it happen, relying on me to make it happen. A videographer was out there to capture the story, to hopefully make a documentary of the story afterwards. And I just had this moment of talking to one of my friends and took a support team out there with me, some guides, some close friends. My brother-in-law was there for some support, like home support. And I had this major wobble.
Was it just like feeling a huge amount of expectation, do you think?
I think
it
that's probably the best word to use, if I'm honest. I trained for close to 13 months, 9 times a week, so morning and night, twice a week, sorry. And have I done everything? Am I ready for this? And the first day was one of the hardest days because of that. It wasn't physically the hardest day. It was the lowest altitude. It was a lovely jungle walk. But I think the sense of the whole group was the same. We're about to set off on this 8-day trek.
Yeah.
What's about to happen? Of all the 3 peaks and Snowdon and even the 30 miler, I kind of knew what to expect at all of these times. I could go and do some training walks in the same mountains as what I was going to walk up backwards. It just was never ever going to work for me to fly out to Tanzania and practice walking up Kilimanjaro. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, you don't just hop on a flight.
I just nip over quick and do a quick. So the first time I was ever exposed to super high altitude, the first time I was really exposed to East Africa. I'd been to Egypt a handful of times. It's a totally different culture, amazing culture. The people are incredible. Made it. Partly the trip it was. So what was great is having that close support network there for me to be able to have group and individual chats for myself. And this was one of those other stories that I use now for my clients. Whatever you're thinking is your thought. So say it. It's not right or wrong. No one shouldn't judge you on what you think. Yeah. Because that's your brain thinking. So if I sat with my mate and go, I don't know if I can do this. That is a genuine thought I had at the very start. And I had some amazing sort of advice and let's take it a day at a time. Let's see how you go. You're in great shape. Things have gone really well with training. You're injury free. All the reassurance I needed. Yeah. But I also just felt the benefit of not holding that in, bottling it up, so to speak.
I was just about to say the same thing as like, it probably would have worked in a very different way if you'd have thought, actually, I'm not going to, scare the sponsors. I'm not going to scare my family thinking I'm not prepared for this. When you, as you said, physically you were, but just being able to say, this is a big challenge. And I think the expectation's quite a lot, or there's this one thing that's worrying me. Just being able to say that boxes it off, and it allows you then to, process exactly what you need to do and start those first few steps backwards up Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, exactly that. I think there's a few people out there, many perhaps people out there that can box their emotions up and move on. Yeah. I feel like I need to understand and focus on those emotions a little bit and make sure I understand why I feel those emotions. So the understanding is the power for me. Okay, you feel a little bit overwhelmed, a sense of expectation because you're about to do the thing that no one else has done in the world. It's pretty normal.
Pioneer.
Yes, trailblazer. It's insane, and it almost doesn't sit right with that modesty that I'd practiced from the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
It's the total other side of actually my ego's like, well, no one else has done this in the world.
Yeah.
And I had that same challenge of, if this is a success, can I keep it packaged up? I want to be incredibly proud. I am incredibly proud. It's so hard to really comprehend that it still happened.
Yeah.
Because I practiced that modesty thing about it's the message, it's the challenge, it's not me.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. I'm not special. I was the person that did it, but I'm also not physically gifted. We could train you.
Yeah.
Go up Kilimanjaro backwards next time. No, thank you. But you could. There is no reason why, with the right training and the right preparation, anyone can do what I've done.
Yeah.
And that's another really key part, that we are limited by our own thoughts, our own expectations on ourselves. So if we think a little bit more highly of ourselves, what more can we do?
Yeah. Unstoppable.
Exactly that. And that's where I went through that whole journey, through these 4 challenges of understanding I am good at this thing, but it's not the ego taking over. It's the message behind it. So keep doing the thing you're good at.
Yeah.
Whether that's for your own health and well-being. Do you like running? Run a little bit.
Yeah.
Great for you. You like swimming? Go and swim a bit more.
Yeah.
That's really good.
But it's having that self-motivation as well, though, to,
Yeah.
really push yourself to achieve those things.
And self-understanding, I think, is another really good thing, is what do I like doing? Where do I want to go with my fitness, my health, my well-being? And actually, if you like swimming, swimming's great.
Yeah.
And you can line up athletes on the Olympics. The cyclists look incredible shape.
Yeah.
The runners are in incredible shape. So if you want to improve your physical well-being, your physical looks, there's no right exercise. Cycling can be just as beneficial as running, as swimming, as playing tennis. But it's moving and getting out there, doing something a little bit new, and not putting the pressure on yourself to have that full change so quickly. Small baby steps.
Yeah, definitely. So just want to ask quickly then, so you obviously make it to the summit of Kilimanjaro. What was that feeling like?
It's an emotion I've never felt before. It's hard because it was so contrasting. Because there had been 2 other people that had summited it walking backwards before me. My challenge was the bottom, not the top. So you've got this incredible sense of achievement, this overwhelm. You're there with people from all over the planet at the summit, bawling your eyes out, taking pictures, celebrating, processing what you've just done for nearly 8 hours, 10 hours. So you take your pictures. I remember a guide, Nelson, came over. He was my last bit of eyes up this hard volcanic path up to the summit. So he was really, really helpful. But he got to the summit, grabbed me by the shoulders. Ben, you've done it. You've walked to the summit backwards. And I remember looking to him with tears in my eyes. I've still got to get back down. I wasn't done.
Yeah.
So it was maybe underwhelming from a sense of my challenge, but then equally as overwhelming because I'd walked through the night to get to the summit.
But did you only feel like you felt that real elation of what you achieved going up, after the event? I guess whilst you're in it, as you were saying, like you're processing, okay, I've got to actually get back down.
Yeah, we used a saying, summiting is optional, descending is compulsory.
Yeah.
We all have to get back down.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice thing. I think one of my mates said that on the way back down, or one of the cameramen that we had. It was, we all have to get down, man. Like, your challenge is just finishing what everyone else has to do as well.
Yeah.
So again, it's just another realization of I'm not done, but I'm also so don't want to take away from this moment of doing the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge, the real battle I had in my head to do that. And I think I did a piece for BBC Northampton at the summit and just sent a voice note over. I made no sense. I thought this was a really well worded voice note. Send it out. They played it on the radio for some reason, but they were really, really supportive in the story, getting the message out there. I was just like a bawling baby at the top, like, I've done it. This is amazing. But it does show how far we went, how far I went with that journey, with that story over the 5 days.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Perfect. So Kilimanjaro, obviously, as you said, first person to go up and back. how do you top that challenge? What's next for you? What is the thing that you're looking forward to this year or maybe early next year?
I suppose one thing I'd like to try and put in between those two is after Kilimanjaro, there was a massive void. There's a gap. And I think this is a really nice thing that often people don't ask about, people don't talk about. So therefore, I've never really sent this message out there too much. I think I had an element of mild depression, PTSD type symptoms.
Okay.
I was on edge. I was lost. I was going through the motions of work and life, and my partner was great, but it was hard. Like, I trained for just over a year. My life revolved around this challenge.
Complete
it was
dedication.
a huge success, and yet now what?
Yeah.
Now I'm back to the 9 to 5. Now I'm back to catching up with friends over coffee, and it felt like the trip in a nutshell kind of epitomized or allowed me to be a certain thing. It framed who I was for such a long time. All I spoke about was the Kilimanjaro trip for nearly a year. And then there was no Kilimanjaro trip because it was a success.
Yeah.
So I felt a little bit lost. So I fell back a little bit, and all of this mental practice that I had, the psychology that I had behind it, kind of went down the drain a little bit. I sort of let myself gain a bit of weight, be really inactive for 4 or 5 months, sort of really felt lost. And it was only then when I realized, okay, you're not doing what you're telling everyone else to do in your work. At the very least, do your steps.
Yeah.
Eat your fruit. Don't drink as much rubbish drinks. Keep that ball rolling for health.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, I'm a young guy. You've done this amazing challenge. This is all it is now.
Yeah.
You've got to get back onto the bandwagon of 3 or 4 times a week in the gym, which I like doing. I like a mixture of swimming and cycling and running. So it's just a case of finding the routine again, finding the challenge. So I think for a lot of people, when you're starting out on something, it will epitomize who you are. It will set you up for who you are. I'm going to lose weight. I'm the person losing weight this year. It frames, it's an identity almost. If that identity is then achieved, who are you then? You're now not the person losing weight or quitting smoking or getting out in the fresh air. You are that person. So who are you next? Yeah. And sometimes you need to look inwards, and that's what I'm saying about it's still really hard for me to understand. I've done this, but I've started to come to terms with it. It seems really strong, but I've now realised that I am the person that's done it.
Yeah.
And I'm now back to the person I was before.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a little wrinkle in time, I suppose, which was crazy. But the hunger was always there for another one.
So what do you think was like the pivotal moment of you? You know, you said you went through this journey of, okay, I've done it now. And what? Like, as in, what am I doing next? Like, when do you think that was that pivotal moment of like, actually, I need to get back on my own personal journey, and then starting to set goals for, what's coming next?
I think it was a few months later, just having chats with people on the gym. How's training going?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not. I'm not doing anything. I'm not really training. And that was then the going back, reflecting, what we spoke about, the idea of actually, I'm not doing what people expect me to do.
Yeah.
As a personal trainer, we like exercise. It's kind of part of the job. Why am I not?
Yeah.
Okay, I love exercise. I love keeping fit and active. So why do I not do the things I'm loving to do? And I made a little sort of joy list. What brings me joy? Simple stuff, being out in nature, all the basic stuff, being healthy. And I think I ticked about 3 out of 6 things. A 50% joy score is, in my opinion, not a great score, especially when it's simple stuff.
Yeah.
It's simple stuff like, I just like to get out on a nice sunny day. Whatever the weather, however cold it is, go out and have a walk. Yeah. But because I'd been walking on the mountain and effectively had a wild time up there, it was incredible, but it was the most challenging walks I've ever done in my life. The walking just around the village on a sunny day didn't sit as easily to me. I'm just going to go for 3 miles. Yeah. That was like breakfast on Kilimanjaro. So it was a concept, a change that actually what I'm doing at home is still having a really, really direct impact on what I'm doing for my health and well-being going forwards. Yeah. And that then led me on to going, well, actually, I probably need something else. So you book your half marathons, your 10K runs, you start training for something with some focus.
Well, you say you actually mean you.
I actually mean
I've never done one of those things. So don't know if odd park run here or there, but other than that.
It's starting off, right? And if, again, it's your first park run, it's an amazing start in the right direction. But if you want to better yourself, it's, do I want to try and run a park run in a certain time? How do I do that? Do I try and do 5K into 10K? How do I run that little bit further? So it's setting up the goals, setting up the process to help you get fitter towards a different goal.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I did that. There's some personal things going on this year in terms of weddings and honeymoons and lots of parties and things like that. Certain age changes are happening. So taking this year off, but in 2026, I suppose there's going to be one more big challenge. And I was reflecting on Kilimanjaro with a deep understanding that not very many people know how hard that was.
Yeah.
So we raised an incredible amount of money. The story really got out there. But I feel like you talk to people and go, wow, that's incredible. Like, respectfully, unless you've been up there, you just don't know what some of the terrain's like and how hard some of the days are. So the big message, and going right back to how it was on Snowdon back in 2019, was having that message. I'm going to go up to Snowdon this next weekend and do it because I've just seen you do this.
Yeah.
And kind of what you've just said there. I want to do a little bit more. I want to get a bit fitter. So the challenge is shaping up to be 48 marathons in 48 days in 48 different counties. So that's all the counties of England backwards.
Wow.
So the logistic nightmare.
Yes.
I've got to somehow travel the country and find where to run a marathon in each county. There's hopefully going to be people to join me while I'm doing this. The ball to get rolling is still a long way off. But I really hope it's going to help get people out to come and join me, knowing that I don't know how I'm going to run it yet, if it's just going to be a 26-mile run or walk backwards, or if I'm going to break it up into 4 10Ks and get people, well, you can join me for half if you like. Yeah. That's great. And I can move around certain counties and certain areas. I don't know. There's lots of planning. We've still got a long time to go before this really takes over. And then I've promised unheartedly to the other half that this will be the last one. So I really want this to be a big one. But I'm sure she told me that was the 3 peaks and then it was Kilimanjaro. So we'll see. But 48 marathons in 48 days in 48 counties backwards. And we'll see, hopefully, if that all comes to plan and works through. But yeah, a long way to go with that. I want people to come and get involved. I want people to realise that they can come and join me for a mile or 20. Yeah, and start their fitness journey with me.
And whether that be, on roller skates, running, cycling.
As we've spoken about many times, it's just being outdoors, being in fresh air, being a bit active, taking pressure off of life, stresses, worries, concerns, and being a bit more active, being a bit healthier.
Well, best of luck with
so
organising that challenge, that very minor challenge.
Yeah.
So we're going to start to wrap up soon. I just wanted to ask, from all of the incredible things that you have done and the massive challenges that you've been through, if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners and subscribers, what advice would you say, from maybe just something to do daily to help them, get on the first rung of the ladder or, start to feel a bit better about themselves?
I kind of wish I thought about this before you asked me, but it's amazing. There's lots of pieces of advice. There's amazing bits. I guess to keep it really, really simple for the listeners, for the people out there, you are better than you think you are, whether that's in day-to-day life, in work. So it's the self-belief. Yeah. Believe that you can improve. Believe you can get better. Because I didn't believe at Snowdon on day one, 4 years later, I was going to be at the summit of Kilimanjaro. Yeah. There was no way. And if you told me that at Snowdon, I'd probably laughed at you. Yeah. There's no way. This is just a little fun challenge that I'm raising some money for. So you don't realise your limitations. So believe you can get fitter, lose weight, be healthier physically, mentally, and make the start. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It doesn't have to be a huge change. But make the start. Believe you can get there. Yeah, perfect. That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Loved it. Thank you so much.
Cheers.